My grandparents think they can decide who comes to my wedding. They were in for a rude awakening. I got married last year. Hooray! But a year before that, me and my now wife settled on a venue and then started the process of whittling down guests. We had a ceremony capacity of 80. I come from quite a large family with few friends. She has a small family, but lots of friends. Mostly, we share her friend group. However, this did lead to us making a couple of rules. Only inviting family members to the day part of the wedding we'd both actually seen during our 5-year relationship. None of the random cousins or uncles who never enter our lives. No one below 16. We came to our own conclusion, rightly or wrongly, that we would rather have more adults there who were more likely to enjoy the day instead of kids who might not. Also, if we invited all the kids in the family, it would be a quarter of our capacity. So when we got engaged, my grandparents, the only ones I have left on my side, were very happy and immediately told me to invite who we wanted and to sod everyone else, do what we want. Once we made the decision regarding venue, the decision around the inviting children followed pretty much immediately after. Now, this is where the drama begins. I'm the oldest grandchild to their oldest son. They had 3 sons, my dad and 2 uncles. My dad and his oldest brother all have kids over 16. Youngest brother, however, has 4, all under 11. This uncle and aunt tend to use my grandparents a lot for extra childcare and support, which is fine. However, it's led to this situation where they're regarded as their babies and need extra attention. And the choice we made regarding children at the ceremony led to my grandparents immediately saying they won't come to the wedding if those grandkids aren't invited. This took all of us, my parents included, by surprise, especially as we heard that the auntie and uncle affected were fine with it. However, my grandparents strong-armed them into agreeing with their position. This led to my dad having a conversation with the grandparents to try and make them see sense. I never got the details. All I know is that it ended with my dad leaving the house after telling my grandmother that the word stubborn would be set on her grave, and he's usually a very controlled individual. 2 days later, my sister, who was 21 at the time, dropped by their place to say hello. She was there chatting normally, but my grandma just cuts in and goes, "So then, what do you have to say about it all?" This took her aback, but she defended our position. My grandma argued that we were picking on them and always believed that we were better than their family. She also said she wanted a nice picture of all the grandkids together. My sister asked her how she could be choosing between the grandkids, doesn't she love us all the same? She didn't respond for a few seconds, before eventually saying, "Well, they're younger, they're our babies." My sister left in tears. I felt terrible and responsible for the fallout. My dad talked me out of going around and having it out with them. He said leave and we'll see if they come around. Time passes and I'm delivering invites to relatives. I was also rushing to meet a friend who was very much in and out of houses. I arrived at their house and only remembered the situation as I walked in. I handed them the invite and was immediately told they would not be attending. I was stunned into silence. I told them the decision wasn't personal and all kids were welcome for the evening party. They told me it wasn't fair and it should be everyone or they won't come at all. I finally cracked and shouted at them. I state that I didn't realize my grandparents' attendance was conditional. They reply with, "How do you think this makes us feel?" I blurt back, "How do you feel? My grandparents aren't coming to my fricking wedding." They ask me to leave. I walk to the door, turn around, walk back, grab the invite, and say, "You won't be needing this then," and I leave. I haven't seen them since. On a plus note, the wedding was amazing. The additional friends we invited really made it a party atmosphere, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I've decided it was their loss and it's something they'll have to live with. P.S. I don't really mind if no one hears this. Just writing it out after all this time has been extremely therapeutic. Am I the jerk for not inviting my grandparents? This feels like a needless conflict, and the grandparents' attitude to the issue is really strange. Like if the kids' own parents were apparently fine with it, why kick up a big fuss? Although it does sound like the parents were petrified by the heads of the family, I know that some families have this attitude to the eldest parental figures, and that you might have ratcheted up the eventual strengthening or breaking of that dynamic. It's already caused them to have upsetting confrontations with your dad and sister. Also, the reversal on your grandma's part from saying, "invite who you want and screw the rest," to then putting her foot down and shattering your chances to achieve that same goal is a bit bloody nuts. Come on, Granny. I'm just doing what you said I should do. It's nice that you look after your younger grandkids so well, but you know they aren't really going to enjoy a wedding that much, right? Being stuck in a boring chapel? The emphasis on the photography aspect makes me wonder if she was just getting way too fixated on getting a nice pic of the grandkids for her mantelpiece. Like, fixated to a weird degree. If that's what you want, Gran, why not just call a family reunion? I think you and your partner made the right choice in sticking to your guns and sticking up for each other, and I'm glad to see that your old dad even got involved and wouldn't let his own parents dictate their terms to you. Seems like a solid family, bar a couple of slightly annoying grandparents. Hopefully they come around and apologize. Smackhead gets offended when I won't give her details about my reproductive system. I live in a small apartment building with my wife and 2 kids. There are 4 units together in a row, and it isn't a great neighborhood. This is sort of a temporary situation until we're back on our feet, but a lot of other people who live here are older and we'll just say unambitious toward life. Normally, I try to keep to myself, but we're in the middle unit, and sometimes being neighborly is a hazard. When the kids want to play outside, I sit and crochet or read in my chair outside the door. This leaves me vulnerable to chit-chat. So the lady next door, and I crap you not, introduced herself to me as Wanda, your crazy smackhead neighbor. I don't know if this is a well-known rumor she's heard about herself, or if she was actually warning me or what, but we're already not off to a good start with that introduction. As politely as I can, we make small talk, and she asks that question that everyone asks the gay couple. So, who's the mom? I said, we both are. No, I mean like who's the real mom? That irked me a bit, so a little more sternly I repeated, we both are. She gave me a snide look and changed tactics. Who's the dad? They don't have one. This is true both spiritually and legally. There was no hetero whoopee, so there is no legally intended father. She finally just asks, how did you get the splooge? Now, I could tell she was getting angry, but I don't really think she had the right to keep asking these kinds of personal questions. I stared at her for a long minute, mulling over which direction to take this. You know, I just wished real hard and clicked my heels. At that point, I was done with the conversation and ushered the kids inside. Just to be clear, you're not entitled to ask someone personal questions about their choice of reproduction just because it isn't obvious to you. I don't think that questions like this would even be okay with a conventional hetero couple. Like maybe friends who you know well and who've already voluntarily started talking on the topic about could be acceptable. Just don't lead with questions like that so early on in the neighborly discussions, folks. As a guy who has no wish to socialize with his neighbors at the best of times, I thoroughly sympathize with internally dying when they poke their heads out the door and start scuttling over to solve the problem of their social isolation. I think that there's more than a good chance that this comes from a place of ignorance rather than any sort of malice or homophobia. I had to reread to realize that your kids were probably within earshot while her little interrogation was going down. That's not okay, smackhead neighbor. There's a time and a place, and they're respectively in your own time and on Google. That's the best time and place to maybe find out ways your gay neighbors could conceive or adopt children. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. I want to haggle, even if you don't. I work at a second-hand shop. A woman comes up to the registers with a massive, beautiful area rug that we just got in. It's been priced at about $100, which is high for our usual thrift store prices, but still way below retail. She doesn't have the I want to speak to your manager haircut that I can tell, mostly because her hair's been tied up in a bun. The first words out of her mouth to my coworker were, "Excuse me, is there any wiggle room on this rug?" No, I'm afraid not." "Well, the price is just too high considering there's some damage to it." The department head would have researched the value and made adjustments. I'm afraid I can't do anything against that. "Well, I need a rug to cover some damage my kids did to our carpets, and I need it by Tuesday for a house showing. Can I speak to your manager?" "Our store manager has gone home for the day and our store is closed for Labor Day. I'm afraid if you want to talk about a price adjustment, you'll just have to wait until Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. "No, I'm afraid I can't wait that long. Do you give military discounts? Unfortunately not. Just a senior discount, and that's only 10% off. 10% isn't nearly low enough. I can pay you $50. Ma'am, we don't haggle. Well, the price is too high. Can I just buy it now and return it? No, we don't do refunds. You can donate it back, but you won't get any money for it. This is ridiculous. I'm afraid your only option is to leave a message for the store manager and come back at 10 a.m. Tuesday to see if she'll lower the price for you. And we already know that she won't lower the price. No, I need it for Tuesday morning. That's not nearly enough time. She huffs and moves to the side to fiddle with her phone for about 10 minutes before coming back. All right, I'll pay your ridiculous price, but I'll need a pen and paper. I'm going to leave a message for your store manager to get a partial refund on this rug. My coworker, smirking, says, sure thing. The woman scribbles down her name and number and a complaining message about how the rug was too expensive and how she wants a partial refund on this rug to reduce the cost down to $50, as well as a military discount on top of the price reduction. Then she pays for the rug and stomps out. We posted the message on the store manager's office door, along with a note saying that I and my coworker told her multiple times that we don't haggle or give refunds. Since I don't work on Tuesdays, I'm almost sorry I'll have to wait to hear about the incoming Category 5 tantrum that will most likely ensue. Okay, so update. So Thursday was my first day back and I asked my store manager what happened with this lady. Events were regaled to me as follows. My store manager came back to work to read the note. She proceeded to laugh and shake her head in disbelief at the audacity of this entitled lady before opening her office and starting up the daily shift. She also checks the security feed for the day in question. 10 a.m. on the dot when the store opens, the phone rings. Apparently, entitled lady was not satisfied to simply leave a note or wait to be called back with an answer. Nope, she's on the phone with her spiel prepared and everything. The store manager politely listens to the whole song and dance. Amazingly, the story remained consistent with no added details, or claims that her son's cancer-ridden puppy needs the money back for life-saving miracle cures. No, she's literally admitting again that she used the rug to hide damage to the house she showed early this morning and just wants her money back, or at least some of it. She winds down her story, so that's why I'm hoping you can work with me on this. And the store manager says, well, no, actually, I can't. There was a beat of stunned silence. I'm sorry, what do you mean you can't? I can't. We don't do refunds at this store. There have been rare occasions of an accidental overcharge which we have refunded, but it's same day only, and we don't advertise that we do it, and this lady doesn't need to know about the rare exceptions because those only happen when we are at fault. She blusters onwards, but the rug was too expensive. And yet you purchased the rug anyway after being told that you would not be getting any money back. But nobody said that. Nobody told me that I couldn't return it or get a price adjustment. Mom, you were told that multiple times. She went from 0 to 100 fury instantly. Are you calling me a liar? The store manager calmly says, Mom, we have video and audio of the 20-minute-long argument you had with both of my employees. They both very clearly inform you multiple times that we don't haggle and we don't refund. There were crickets on the other end of that line. She then says, now, as I see it, you have a choice. Either keep the rug or donate it somewhere. Either way, we appreciate the money you generously donated to all the homeless kittens and puppies at our local animal shelter. Have a nice day. There was a click of the phone being put down. I was honestly kind of speechless at the epic beauty of this complete shutdown of this awful woman. I don't know if my manager embellished on what she said to this lady, as I'm hearing it a couple of days after the fact, but I think I'm going to pretend it's all true and hold that happy little thought in my heart for the rest of my days. You know, I can at least appreciate these bald-faced jerks rather than the ones that lie and manipulate right from the start. I don't know if this lady was actually a veteran. Her story was consistent right up until the last bit where she tried to claim that the original salespeople lied to her. And honestly, like a lot of Karens, maybe she was just sort of delusional and interpreted things the way she wanted to. She had lots of confidence and was absolutely certain that she was going to get her way right up until most of the way through that call. It kind of speaks to me less of malice and more just pig-headed stupidity. It's, as always, fascinating to see it in action. I hope that we collectively let people like this complain their way to victory as little as possible, because I'm sure there have been cases like this where Karens and Kens have got their refunds and told their friends and created a wave of future awful encounters. So, well prevented. Also, credit to your manager for that awesome final zinger. If you argue with that, then you want to take the money off the innocent little fluffy animals and condemn them back into a worse life. Don't hurt the puppies, lady. I got someone fired twice. So I've been working in advertising for about 8 years now. Back in my old agency, we hired someone new to handle digital for a couple of small-time clients as she was new to the industry. Let's call her the evil craphead. She didn't last long as she had attitude problems and would regularly make major mistakes and repeat them. So after about 6 months, I told her that it wasn't going to work out, but that we thank her for being with us. Basically, no hard feelings. I never burned bridges and I was still kind of junior in my middle management career. A couple of years later, I left that agency and started doing my own thing, but then settled as the head of digital at a new agency that had a small client, but one that had a big global name. Their retainer was pretty low and I'd told the managing director that it wasn't a client worth keeping if they wouldn't increase their retainer by at least 15%, but my agency insisted that they're a good name to keep. Whatever, I didn't invest too much time into it. A few weeks later, the client hires a new digital manager, and it turns out to be the evil craphead. And she gives me this smirk in our first meeting. I'm not new in the industry, so I don't really take it too seriously, but she tries to make life hell for my employees. Constant angry emails and unrealistic expectations. But in my face, she was always nice. She'd even send me private WhatsApp messages thanking me for the good work, but then sending huge criticisms via email with her boss CC'd in. She thought that just because she's my client, I was scared or something like that. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months and she sends an email to the managing director, whom I directly report to, and says that I haven't given any care to the account and that there are too many things going wrong, that I should be adding value to the account. I tell my boss that they only pay for 2 hours per month of my time, and that I'm giving them 1 day a week, more than generous, and that she's being unreasonable with her demands. Honestly, she's kind of taking us for a ride. So my boss asks to be looped into the emails moving forward, which makes me angry, but whatever. After 3 days, he sees how ridiculous it's getting and says to me, "I've had this account for 12 years. I'm not about to let this one awful woman ruin it. Do what you can to take her down." So I comply. She didn't take into account that our contract ended in exactly 1 month from the moment I got the green light to screw her over. And if she didn't have an agency to take over the account, she would definitely be under serious scrutiny from her management. Her boss had no idea how much time I've put into the account and how much time the team has invested. So I make sure I keep timesheets, records, and rounds of feedback she's given. We had an agency review meeting 3 days before contract extension, and I present the 2019 and 20 strategy and contract with a 130% increase in the retainer. Her and her boss freak out and are like, "What? No way! How could you even present that?" And I show her boss all the emails, all the WhatsApp conversations, confirming what she wants to be delivered for the year, and saying that we won't take them on as a client if they're not willing to pay what it's worth. I even slipped in some of the nasty WhatsApps that she sent to my employees where she said at one point, "Take it up with your boss if you don't like it." My managing director started to freak out after the meeting and told me that he hadn't expected me to do that. He was so nervous that he was about to lose an account that isn't even 5% of the company's revenue. 2 days later, they ask if we'd be willing to take the same retainer for less work, as the demands made by the lady were not beneficial to the company and that they've let her go 4 months after hiring her. We agree and move on. Ideally, I think we would have ended that contract anyway, and I would have freed up more time to win new businesses. But that didn't happen. I've since quit this job, hoping to find the evil craphead somewhere else, because third time's the charm, right? Am I the jerk? I don't think that you were too evil in your actions here, other than the personal joy you felt at bringing her down, but she seemed like she was kind of enjoying being vicious herself, as well as using her time at work improperly. You just complied with her demands, kept receipts, and then when they saw the basic facts of what she'd been asking you, they decided she wasn't worth keeping on. You'd hope that she'd learn the correct lessons from this, but you never know. If you run into her a third time, I think it seems a little like persecution, but I'm not your life coach. Maybe you two will just end up getting married or something. This seems enough like the beginning of a rom-com situation that I'd believe it could end that way. I'll keep scanning your account in the future to find out if you two were ever fated to meet again. Watch this space, folks. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.